The Mercy mission. The UNSS Samaritan gleamed against the darkness of space, its pristine white hull emblazoned with the ancient symbol of healing, a red cross that had represented mercy for over a millennium. Captain Nora Chen stood on the observation deck, watching as the last supply shuttles docked with her vessel. The massive hospital ship stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, Earth's most advanced medical vessel, and the flagship of the United Nations Space Service Humanitarian Corps. Final supply manifest confirmed, Captain, reported Commander Amira Osman, Chen's executive officer. Medical Bay 7 is now fully stocked with the experimental burn treatments from the Luna facilities. Chen nodded, her dark eyes reflecting the stars beyond the viewport, and the diplomatic clearances. Both the Eridani Colonial Authority and the Cephide refugee representatives have granted us full access to the affected zones, Osman replied. Even the Varaxian Dominion has acknowledged our neutral status and granted passage through their territorial buffer. That's a first, Chen said, turning from the viewport. At 53, she carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who had spent 3 decades bringing help to the forgotten corners of human space. The silver streaks in her black hair were earned from years of crisis response across a dozen star systems. The Varaxians aren't known for their hospitality. Perhaps even they recognize the severity of the situation, Osman suggested. The situation was indeed severe. A stellar anomaly in the Epsilon Eridani system had caused unprecedented radiation bursts, devastating colonies and outposts across 3 planets. Over 6 million lives, human and alien alike, were at risk without immediate medical intervention. Chen's communicator chimed. Captain, Dr. Rossi requests your presence in Medical Bay 3. The Cephide medical liaison has arrived. On my way, Chen replied. The corridors of the Samaritan bustled with activity as the crew of 800 prepared for their mission. Unlike military vessels with their utilitarian design, the hospital ship featured wide passageways and soft lighting, designed to provide comfort to patients and medical staff alike. Dr. Elena Rossi, the ship's chief medical officer, stood beside a tall, willowy alien with iridescent skin that shifted between blues and greens. The Cephite's 4 eyes blinked in synchrony as it extended a 6-fingered hand in greeting. Captain Chen, this is Healer Xylos, Rossi said. They've brought the physiological data we requested on Cephide radiation responses. Healer Xylos, Chen greeted, placing her palm against the alien's. Thank you for trusting us with your people's care. It is we who are grateful. Xylos replied, their melodic voice translating through the ship's systems. When the storm came, many believed we would perish. No other species offered aid until humanity extended its hand. Chen smiled. That's what we do. No matter who needs help, where they come from, or what they look like, suffering is universal, and so should compassion be. A soft chime sounded through the ship, and Chen's communicator activated. Captain to the bridge. We've received departure clearance from Earth Control. Duty calls, Chen said. Dr. Rossi will ensure you have everything you need, Healer Xylos. On the bridge, Chen settled into her command chair, surveying the streamlined control center. Unlike the weapons-bristling command decks of military vessels, the Samaritan's bridge emphasized communication and navigation systems. All departments report ready, Captain, said Lieutenant Commander Hiroshi Tanaka, his fingers dancing across the navigation console. Course plotted for the Epsilon Eridani system. Estimated arrival time. Chen asked. 38 hours at standard medical transit speed, Tanaka replied. We could push the engines harder, but we need to maintain stability for the sensitive equipment and pre-prepared treatments. Chen finished. Standard speed is fine. The advanced teams are keeping the situation stable. Communications Officer Lion Park looked up from her station. Captain, we're receiving an update from the advanced teams. The radiation sickness is progressing faster than anticipated among the human colonists on Eridani Prime. They're requesting we prioritize delivery of the anti-radiation compounds. Chen frowned. informed Dr. Rossi. We'll need to adjust our treatment deployment schedule. She turned to the ship's AI interface. Flora and C, recalculate our resource allocation based on the new data. The holographic representation of a 21st century nurse appeared beside her chair. Recalculating, Captain. Based on current supplies and updated patient estimates, I recommend increasing production of compound AR7 in Pharmaceutical Lab 2. Make it happen, Chen ordered. And send a message to Earth Medical Command requesting additional stocks to be dispatched to meet us at Waypoint Station Gamma. As the Samaritan broke orbit and accelerated toward its destination, Chen reviewed the mission details one final time. 6 medical support vessels would accompany the flagship, each specializing in different aspects of disaster response. Together, they would form the largest humanitarian fleet ever dispatched to a crisis zone. Captain, Hart called out, her voice tight with concern. I'm detecting unusual ship movements near the Varaxian border checkpoint we're scheduled to pass through. Chen looked up. Define unusual. Multiple vessels moving into what appears to be an intercept pattern. They're not broadcasting standard identification signals. Open a channel, Chen ordered. All frequencies, all languages. Park worked her console. Channel open. This is Captain Nora Chen of the UNSS Samaritan. We are a medical vessel on a humanitarian mission to the Epsilon Eridani system. We carry no weapons and request safe passage as guaranteed by interstellar conventions and your government's prior authorization. Silence answered her. Keep broadcasting our status and intentions, Chen instructed, and alert our escort vessels to maintain formation. The Samaritan's escort wasn't military. 6 smaller medical ships that formed a complete disaster response unit. Together, they carried enough supplies and personnel to treat hundreds of thousands of patients. Unidentified vessels are accelerating, Tanaka reported, his voice calm despite the concern evident on his face. Their trajectory will intercept us in 12 minutes. Maintain course, Chen said firmly. We have nothing to hide and nothing to fear. Our mission is recognized by all major powers, including the Varaxian Dominion. The minutes ticked by intense silence as the unknown vessels drew closer. Finally, the communication system crackled to life. Human vessel, came a harsh, translated voice. You have entered restricted space. State your purpose. Chen exchanged glances with her officers. This isn't restricted space according to any navigational charts or diplomatic agreements, she said quietly before activating the response channel. This is Captain Chen of the UNSS Samaritan. We are a clearly marked medical convoy with prior authorization from your government to transit this sector. We are on a humanitarian mission to assist victims of the Epsilon Eridani stellar event. No such authorization exists, the voice replied. Your presence here is a violation of Varaxian sovereignty. Check your records, Chen insisted. Authorization code Epsilon Theta 9977, issued by Dominion Central Command 48 hours ago. The communications channel went silent again. Chen turned to Park. Send our authorization codes again, along with our complete mission profile and manifest. Make sure they understand we're carrying medical supplies for multiple species, including Varaxian citizens in the affected areas. Transmitting now, Captain, Park confirmed. Tactical Officer Rafael Diaz shifted uncomfortably at his station. Captain, the approaching vessels have activated targeting systems. Chen's eyes narrowed. That's impossible. Even if there were a misunderstanding about our authorization, we're clearly marked as a medical ship. Targeting a medical vessel is a violation of every civilized agreement in known space. They're locking weapons on all ships in our convoy, Diaz reported, his voice rising with disbelief. Broadcast emergency protocols, Chen ordered. All channels, all languages. Remind them we are protected under Section 7 of the Galactic Accord. The bridge crew worked frantically at their stations as Chen opened a ship-wide channel. All hands. This is the captain. Secure all medical supplies and prepare for possible emergency maneuvers. This is not a drill. She turned to Tanaka. Can we outrun them? The navigation officer shook his head. Not with our current configuration. The Samaritan was built for stability, not speed. Coming back into communications range, Park announced. They're hailing us. On screen, Chen ordered. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a Voraxian officer, his scaled face impassive beneath an ornate military crest. Human vessel, he said without preamble. Your kind extends too far into the galaxy. Today, you will learn the cost of such presumption. Chen stood from her chair. We are a medical ship on a sanctioned humanitarian mission. Your own government authorized our passage. Millions will die without our assistance. Weakness deserves its fate, the Voraxian replied coldly. The strong survive. The weak perish. This is the law of the cosmos that humans refuse to accept. You're making a terrible mistake, Chen warned. If you fire on a medical vessel, it will be considered a war crime by every civilized species. The Dominion defines what is crime and what is justice in our space, the Voraxian said. And we have determined that humanity's interference ends today. The screen went dark. They've cut transmission, Park reported, her hands shaking slightly. Captain, they've just broadcast a message to their ships. Remove the human contamination. Chen's face hardened. All hands, brace for impact. Medical teams, secure your patients and equipment. On the tactical display, the Voraxian vessels moved into attack position. They can't possibly be serious, Osman whispered, standing beside Chen. Attacking a medical convoy would unite the entire galactic community against them. Captain, Florence's artificial voice cut in. I've detected energy buildups consistent with weapons charging on all approaching vessels. Chen hit the emergency broadcast button. This is Captain Nora Chen making a final appeal. We are unarmed medical personnel on a mission of mercy. There are over 1,200 doctors, nurses, and humanitarian workers aboard these ships. Do not fire. The first volley of energy weapons lanced through space, striking the smallest vessel in the convoy. The medical ship erupted in a ball of flame, secondary explosions tearing through its hull as atmosphere vented into space. Direct hit on the UNSS Comfort. Diaz shouted, They're gone, Captain. Horror swept across the bridge as reality set in. The Voraxians weren't bluffing. They were methodically destroying the humanitarian mission. Evasive maneuvers, Chen ordered, but she knew it was futile. The Samaritan wasn't built to dodge military weapons fire. The second volley struck 2 more ships in the convoy, tearing through their unshielded hulls. Distress calls flooded the communication system before abruptly falling silent. Get everyone to the escape pods, Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting around them. Priority to medical personnel with critical knowledge of treatment protocols. The ship shuddered as the first hits landed against the Samaritan's hull. Warning alarms blared throughout the vessel. Hull breach in Medical Bay 4, Florence reported. Emergency containment failing. Casualties? Chen asked, gripping her chair as another impact rocked the ship. 47 medical personnel and 16 patients confirmed lost. The AI replied, number rising rapidly. Chen made her decision. All hands, abandon ship. This is not a drill. Get to the escape pods. Transmit all medical data to Earth before our systems fail. As her crew rushed to comply, Chen opened a secure channel to Earth Command. Her message was brief and to the point. UNSS Samaritan under attack by Voraxian forces. Unprovoked assault on clearly marked medical convoy. Multiple ships lost. Casualties severe. Transmitting all sensor data. She paused, watching as another medical ship in her convoy burst into flames. They knew exactly what we were, and they fired anyway. May God forgive them, because humanity won't. The transmission cut off as another impact sent Chen sprawling to the deck. The lights flickered and died, replaced by the dim red glow of emergency systems. Captain, we need to go, Osman urged, helping Chen to her feet. The escape pods won't wait forever. Chen nodded, But as they reached the bridge exit, a massive explosion tore through the corridor beyond, sealing their fate. "Find another way out," Chen ordered as smoke began filling the bridge. "That's an order, Commander." As the Samaritan broke apart around them, one small vessel managed to slip away unnoticed, a medical shuttle piloted by Dr. James Okafor, carrying crucial evidence of what had transpired. As the sole survivor of the attack, he would return to Earth with the truth, and humanity would respond with a fury the galaxy had never witnessed before. The Varaxians had fired on a rescue convoy. Earth would now show them exactly what that mistake would cost. The sole survivor. Dr. James Okafor's medical shuttle drifted through the darkness of space, its systems powered down to minimal life support. From his viewport, he watched as the Varaxian vessels methodically destroyed what remained of the humanitarian convoy. The UNSS Samaritan, once the pride of Earth's medical fleet, now existed only as scattered debris illuminated by occasional energy discharges as its power cores failed. Okafor's hands trembled as he tended to his own injuries, a deep gash across his forehead, and 3 broken ribs sustained during his desperate escape. As the Samaritan's deputy chief medical officer, he'd been conducting a final inventory check in Shuttle Bay 3 when the attack began. Pure chance had placed him near the only vessel that would escape the massacre. "Computer, record personal log," he whispered, wincing as pain shot through his side. "The date is July 17, 2189. This is Dr. James Okafor, UNSS Samaritan. I appear to be the sole survivor of an unprovoked attack on our medical convoy by Varaxian forces." He paused, watching as the Varaxian ships began to depart, apparently satisfied with their slaughter. "They knew what we were," Okafor continued, his Nigerian accent thickening with emotion. "Captain Chen broadcast our status continuously. Our ships bore all required markings. We carried no weapons, only medicine and hope." He closed his eyes briefly. "Now I carry only evidence of their crime." The shuttle's computer beeped softly, indicating that the Varaxian vessels had moved beyond sensor range. Okafor carefully brought the main systems back online, plotting a course toward the nearest human outpost. The shuttle wasn't designed for long-range travel, but he had no choice. "Computer, calculate survival probability with current oxygen and food supplies." "Calculating," the computer responded. "With minimal life support and 1 occupant, survival probability is 63.4% to reach Outpost Gamma 9. Better odds than anyone else on the convoy had received," Okafor thought grimly. As the shuttle's engines hummed to life, he accessed the vessel's secure storage compartment. Inside was the reason he couldn't simply hide and wait for rescue. The shuttle's black box contained not only sensor logs of the attack, but also complete neural backups of the Samaritan's medical eye, Florence. With it, the radical treatments developed for the Epsilon Eridani crisis might still reach those in need. "Earth has to know," he whispered to himself. "They all have to know." 3 weeks later, the shuttle limped into Earth orbit, its fuel cells nearly depleted. Okafor had survived on emergency rations and recycled water, losing 15 kilograms during the journey. But he had made it. The United Nations Space Defense Headquarters in Geneva hummed with activity as news of the shuttle's arrival spread. In a secure medical facility beneath the complex, Okafor lay in a hospital bed, recovering from surgery to repair his broken ribs and the effects of prolonged malnutrition. Fleet Admiral Olivia Hayes stood at his bedside, her weathered face set in lines of controlled fury. At 62, Hayes had overseen Earth's space defense forces for nearly a decade, maintaining the careful balance of showing enough military capability to deter aggression while concealing humanity's true strength. "Doctor," she said softly as Okafor's eyes fluttered open. "I'm Admiral Hayes. I need to ask you about what happened." Okafor nodded weakly. "The recordings. We've reviewed them," Hayes assured him. "Multiple times. I need to hear it from you. Did the Varaxians give any warning? Any justification for their attack?" None that made sense, Okafor replied, his voice raspy. Their commander said something about humanity extending too far into the galaxy. That weakness deserves its fate. He swallowed hard. They targeted the medical bays first. Admiral, not the engines or communication arrays. They specifically targeted where the patients and medical staff would be concentrated. Hayes' expression didn't change, but her hands tightened into fists at her sides. Did Captain Chen attempt to surrender? There was no time, Okafor said, tears welling in his eyes. From first warning to first impact was less than 2 minutes. They never intended to let anyone surrender. The Admiral nodded slowly. Rest now, Doctor. You've done your duty bringing this information home. Earth will handle it from here. As Hayes turned to leave, Okafor called after her. Admiral, 1,200 people. Doctors, nurses, therapists. They were there to save lives. I know, Hayes said quietly. And so will everyone else. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session that same evening. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered in New York as Admiral Hayes presented the evidence recovered from Dr. Okafor's shuttle. The attack was deliberate, unprovoked, and specifically targeted at medical personnel, Hayes explained as the horrific footage played on the chamber's main screen. The Varaxian Dominion knew exactly what they were firing upon. There can be no claim of mistaken identity or military necessity. UN Secretary General Lina Delo, a tall woman from Mali with streaks of silver in her dark hair, stepped to the podium after the footage ended. The chamber remained deathly silent. For 2 centuries, she began, humanity has presented itself to the galactic community as primarily interested in science, trade, and humanitarian endeavors. After the horror of our own global conflicts, we chose to expand into space with caution and compassion. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each representative. Many alien species mistook this approach for weakness. They believe humans lack the capacity or will for significant military action. Some, like the Varaxians, apparently concluded we could be attacked with impunity. Diallo's voice hardened. The time has come to correct this misunderstanding. The Security Council vote was unanimous. For the first time in United Earth's history, Article 7 of the Defense Charter was activated, authorizing full military response against an extraterrestrial threat. Deep beneath the lunar surface, in facilities unknown to most of humanity and completely hidden from alien observation, lights began to illuminate vast chambers. In massive construction bays, ships unlike any publicly acknowledged by Earth governments waited in standby mode. Commander Sashi Chaudhry walked the length of the UES Nemesis, a vessel that officially didn't exist. At 1.5 kilometers long and bristling with weapon systems generations ahead of what Earth publicly displayed, the Nemesis represented the true face of human military capability, a face kept hidden for decades. Status report, Chaudhry demanded as she entered the bridge, technicians and officers scrambling to bring systems online after years of standby status. Reactor at 89% and climbing, Commander, her executive officer reported. Weapon systems green across the board. Stealth systems fully operational. And the rest of Battle Group Vengeance? Chaudhry asked. All 18 ships reporting ready for deployment within 12 hours. Chaudhry nodded, satisfaction evident in her dark eyes. When she had accepted command of a ghost ship 5 years ago, she never truly believed the Nemesis would see combat. The vessel was insurance, a deterrent never meant to be revealed. Now, that had changed. Prepare for crew transport, she ordered. Full combat loadout. And make sure everyone understands. This isn't a training exercise anymore. Across Earth's solar system, hidden facilities activated. From the asteroid belt to the moons of Neptune, shipyards and weapons platforms that had operated in absolute secrecy now prepared for war. The public knew about the Earth Defense Fleet, a modest collection of patrol vessels and small combat ships. They knew nothing of the Shadow Fleet, built in secret over generations. In his apartment overlooking Geneva, Dr. Okafor watched the news broadcasts with growing astonishment. Earth's leaders had announced that a proportional response was being prepared against the Voraxian Dominion for their attack on the medical convoy. What shocked him was the complete absence of panic. There were no mass protests, no demands for peace negotiations, only a cold, unified anger unlike anything he had seen in his lifetime. His door chimed, and he called for it to open. A woman in a crisp military uniform entered, her insignia identifying her as part of Earth intelligence. "Dr. Okafor, I'm Captain Wei," she said. "I need you to come with me." "Why?" Okafor asked, still weak from his ordeal. "Because you're the only person alive who fully understands the medical protocols that were being transported to Epsilon Eridani," Wei explained. "And despite everything that's happened, Earth intends to complete the Samaritan's mission." Okafor stared at her in disbelief. "In the middle of a war?" Wei's expression softened slightly. "Doctor, what made the attack on the Samaritans so unforgivable wasn't just the loss of life. It was the callous disregard for suffering. Earth won't make the same mistake. Even as we respond to the Voraxians, we will still help those in need." She handed him a data tablet. "The neural backup of Florency you saved contains the treatment protocols, but we need you to implement them. A stealth medical ship is being prepared." Okafor looked down at the tablet, seeing familiar medical data alongside unfamiliar military designations. "I'm not sure I understand what you're asking." "We're asking you to finish what Captain Chen started," Wei said simply, "while others handle the Voraxians." On the Voraxian throne world of Vora Prime, Supreme Commander Krax stood before the Dominion Council, his scales gleaming under the harsh lights of the chamber. "The human medical ships have been eliminated as ordered," he reported, mandibles clicking with satisfaction. "Their presence in the disputed zone has been erased." High Lord Xerex, eldest of the council, leaned forward on his ornate perch. And the response from Earth. Predictable diplomatic outrage, Krax dismissed with a wave of his clawed hand. "They have filed protests with the Galactic Council and recalled their ambassadors. Nothing of consequence." "You seem unconcerned about military retaliation," observed Counselor Vex, her crest flaring with skepticism. Krax barked a sound approximating laughter. "The humans maintain a token defense force. Their military budget is 1/10 of what they spend on their scientific and medical institutions. We have studied them thoroughly. They abhor conflict and will seek diplomatic solutions even in the face of direct aggression." "And if you're wrong," Xerex pressed, "then they will learn the price of challenging the Dominion." Krax replied confidently, "Our border fleets outmatch anything they could deploy by a factor of 6. Intelligence reports their largest combat vessel is barely 400 meters in length." The council murmured in agreement. Centuries of expansion had taught the Voraxians that decisive action against weaker species typically resulted in submission, not resistance. Humans, with their obsession with healing and peaceful cooperation, were viewed as particularly soft. "There is one curious development," Krax added almost as an afterthought. "They have gone dark." "Explain," demanded Xerex. "Human communications traffic has decreased by 60% in the past solar cycle. Their civilian shipping has been recalled to their home system, and their outposts report minimal staffing." "Preparing for our attack," suggested another counselor. "More likely cowering in fear," Krax replied dismissively. "Their response pattern matches other species who retreated rather than fought when challenged." As the council session concluded, only Counselor Vex remained troubled. "Supreme Commander," she said privately as they exited the chamber, "I have studied human history. They are not like the others we have subjugated." "All species fear death, Counselor," Krax replied. "Yes," Vex agreed. "But humans have repeatedly demonstrated they fear failing their principles more than they fear dying for them. The humans have a saying I find concerning. The quiet ones are the most dangerous when finally provoked." Krax flared his mandibles in amusement. "Then we shall see what humanity does when truly provoked." I have ordered our forward bases to prepare for possible incursion. The Varaxian forward base on Telos IV was the closest Dominion military installation to human space, a fortified moon orbiting a gas giant with a garrison of 3,000 troops and a defensive fleet of 20 vessels. It served as both border patrol headquarters and listening post, monitoring human communications and ship movements. Base Commander Grex performed his final inspection of the day, satisfied with the readiness of his troops. Supreme Command had issued warnings about possible human retaliation, but Grex considered such precautions excessive. In 3 centuries of military service, he had never seen humans respond to provocation with anything but words and sanctions. "Status report," he demanded as he entered the command center deep within the moonbase. "All systems normal, Commander," his sensor officer reported. Long-range scans show no unusual activity in human space. Their border patrols maintain standard patterns. Grex nodded, his crest relaxing. "And our stealth observers?" Reporting from just outside Sol system, the communications officer confirmed. Human military vessels remain in standard orbital positions. No mobilization detected. "As expected," Grex said, settling into his command chair. "The humans talk bravely, but act weakly. By the next cycle, they will be requesting peace negotiations." The sensor officer suddenly stiffened, his scales flushing with the green of confusion. "Commander, I'm detecting an anomaly at the edge of our sensor range." "Specify," Grex demanded. "Unknown." It appeared briefly, then vanished. Possibly a sensor malfunction. The officer worked his console. "Running diagnostics now." Grex flicked his tail in irritation. "Check the gravitational arrays as well. The gas giant's fluctuations have caused false readings before." "Commander," the communications officer interrupted. "We've lost contact with Outpost Sigma-7." Grex turned sharply. "When?" "Just now, mid-transmission," they reported. The officer paused, confusion evident in his posture. They reported visual contact with something massive before communications cut out. Before Grex could respond, the sensor officer called out again. "Multiple anomalies now, sir. Gravitational distortions at 6 points surrounding the base." The base's alert system suddenly activated, klaxons blaring throughout the complex. On the main tactical display, 6 points of empty space suddenly resolved into massive vessels appearing where nothing had been detected before. "Impossible," Grex whispered, staring at the readings. "These ships, they're over 1 kilometer long each. Humans don't have vessels of this size." "They're hailing us, Commander," the communications officer reported, his voice quavering. "On screen," Grex ordered, straightening to his full height. The display activated, showing a human female with dark skin and silver-streaked hair in a uniform unlike any Grex had seen before. The insignia marked her as Admiral Helena Rivera, a name unknown in Varaxian intelligence reports. "Varaxian Command," Rivera stated without preamble, her voice coldly professional. "This is Admiral Rivera of Earth Defense Forces Special Operations. Your base has been surrounded and isolated. All communications with your fleet have been severed. You have 1 hour to evacuate all personnel. After that time, this facility will be neutralized." Grex's mandibles clicked rapidly in agitation. "This is an act of war. You have no authority in Dominion space. War was declared when you fired on our medical ships," Rivera replied evenly. "As for authority," she gestured around her, "I believe you can see it displayed before you." "We will never surrender to humans," Grex snarled. "Our reinforcements will annihilate your ships." Rivera's expression didn't change. "Your nearest battle group is 3 days away at maximum speed. They will find nothing but debris when they arrive." She leaned forward slightly. "This is not a negotiation, Commander. This is courtesy. 1 hour to evacuate. After that, we will demonstrate what happens when humanity is provoked." The transmission cut off. Grex immediately activated the base's defense protocols, shields humming to life as weapon systems charge. "Send emergency signals to Supreme Command," he ordered. "All troops to battle stations. Launch all fighter squadrons." As his orders were carried out, Grex studied the tactical display with growing dread. The human vessels had made no aggressive moves, simply holding position in a perfect containment pattern. Their design was unlike anything in Voraxian records. Sleek, dark hulls that seemed to absorb rather than reflect sensor scans, with weapon emplacements unlike any he recognized. "Our fighters have launched," his tactical officer reported. 30 units on attack vector. Order them tow." Grex began, but stopped as the fighters suddenly froze in space, caught in some kind of energy field he'd never seen before. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Unknown technology, sir," the tactical officer replied, his scales paling. "They're just holding our fighters in place. No damage, but complete immobilization." 53 minutes later, the last Voraxian evacuation shuttle departed the base, carrying Commander Grex and his senior staff. Behind them, 3,000 troops had been evacuated in perfect order. Not a single casualty reported despite the chaos of the rapid departure. From his shuttle viewport, Grex watched in stunned silence as the human vessels methodically dismantled the base he had commanded for 12 years. Their weapons fired with surgical precision, destroying military equipment while leaving habitation sections intact. The shuttle sensors recorded everything. Weapons that seemed to phase through shields without effort. Precision strikes that separated military from civilian infrastructure as neatly as a surgeon's scalpel. Not a single shot had targeted the evacuating Voraxians. As the shuttle joined the gathered evacuation fleet at the designated safety point, Grex received word that 11 other Voraxian bases had met exactly the same fate at exactly the same time. Complete neutralization with 0 casualties. The message was clear. Earth could have killed them all, but chose not to. What terrified the Voraxian High Command most was not what the humans had done, but how effortlessly they had done it. Supreme Commander Krax received Grex's report with growing horror. The humans had not been hiding in fear as he had assumed. They had been preparing for war, a kind of war the Voraxians had never imagined. The Quiet Ones had finally been provoked, and now the galaxy would witness their fury.